Hi, mathematicians. So today and this week, we are going to start a new topic where we are going to learn about how to interpret and represent data through different kinds of graphs. So you should see on your screen my math notebook. You should also see all of the vocabulary picture cards that you should have printed out. So if you need to pause the video and cut and glue them, just like mine, that would be perfect. And when you are ready to start, you may press play, okay? So the very first picture and word we're gonna talk about today is the picture graph. Okay, so this is what a picture graph looks like. And a picture graph is just that. It is a graph using pictures or symbols to show data. Okay, so go ahead and draw your line here and we will go ahead and write for a picture graph. It is a graph using pictures or symbols to show data. And data is going to be one of our vocabulary words, so we will review that in a minute, but hopefully you do know what data means. So with a picture graph, there is always something called a key. And it is so important that you always look at the key before you do anything else with a picture graph, because a key is going to explain what each symbol represents. So if we look here, each plant represents 5 plants. So if you didn't happen to look at the key, you might tell me, oh, in April, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 plants were sold in April. But if you look at the key, that would not be correct, right? How many plants would have been sold in April? Well, we would have to count by 5s 5 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, so it is so important, and we're going to look at picture graphs more today, but it is so important that you always look at the key. So once you're ready and you've drawn that line, let's go ahead and write that the key explains what each picture or symbol represents. So that is a picture graph. Those two things will go hand in hand together. All right, the next graph that we're actually going to talk about today is called a bar graph. They say scaled bar graph, but we can just say bar graph. So a bar graph is similar to a picture graph. It's a graph using, instead of pictures, it's using what? Bars to show the data. So for a bar graph, it's a graph using bars to show data. Okay, so with a bar graph, there is something called a scale. And just like when we use the key to help us with a picture graph, we have to use the scale to help us with the bar graph because it shows the units used on a graph, okay? And when I say units, I mean numbers. So the scale is, or are, the numbers that show the units used on a graph. Okay, so again, today we're going to dig in a little bit deeper to picture graphs and bar graphs. If you look over here on the second page, we've got 3 more words. So survey. a lot of times people use surveys to help them collect the data. So a survey is when you collect information by asking a question, the same question, to a certain number of people. So for example here, this person is collecting data and surveying people on their favorite color. They gave them all of the options, and then they went around and tallied their data. Okay, so a survey is when you collect information by asking people the same question and recording their answer. Oops. Okay, so then survey, after you've collected all that information, that is also called data. It's the piece of information that is collected. Okay, and then the last one we have is something called a frequency table. This table is used to show the number of times something occurs. So if you look here, this is showing the number of times a fiction book and a nonfiction book were sold. All right, so a frequency table is a table used to show the number of times something occurs. All right, guys, so you should have all of these important data words in your math notebook. When you are ready to join me again for our first lesson, go ahead and do so. I will see you soon. Bye.